I never thought that we would see the day where Diddy would get arrested, and I told you guys in that Maria Z interview in 2021 that no one tells on Diddy. P. Diddy.
At what point do we start believing that Jay-Z is guilty of all the crimes they say he is? Like, this man has literally been accused at 100 crimes this year. And every single time y'all said, no, they just trying to take a well-to-do black man down. They just trying to tarnish his name. Well, folks, I think we've hit the end of the road. Because this man is named in official FBI documents. You can't glaze over this one. You can't say somebody money hungry. You can't say somebody out to just take him of all his wealth and status. I've been asking for the names on them Epstein files. Now you got them. Why are y'all quiet?
The Epstein files just cracked open again, and word is the DOJ didn't just expose a network, they exposed handlers. Now Diddy's name is being whispered as Epstein's top connector, and two more powerful figures might have been playing the same role. If even half of this is true, the music industry might be tied to something way darker than folks ever imagined. Now, if your ears been down to the street, you'd already know the Epstein story is blowing open doors that elite circles probably hope would stay sealed forever. Ever since the Department of Justice dropped that massive document release tied to Jeffrey Epstein, the internet hasn't stopped digging. Millions of pages, archived tips, internal logs, emails, and witness statements.
Today we are producing more than 3 million pages, including more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images. In total, that means that the department produced approximately 3.5 million pages in compliance with the act.
And what people are noticing is something bigger than just one man's crimes, because the deeper folks read through those files, the more it's clear Epstein wasn't operating alone. According to investigators and multiple reports tied to the broader case, there were entire social circles connected through the same travel routes, the same luxury properties, and even the same escort networks.
We were girls and young women who were victimized by Epstein and Maxwell in a trafficking ring.
I know there are videos and photos. I know that Jeffrey had recording cameras in his house.
Powerful people who caused us harm are being protected and we're being exposed. It is meant to silence us.
And that's where the name Sean Diddy Combs starts coming back into the conversation again. Now, let's keep this clear from the start. A lot of what's being discussed right now is talk right from the hood and information on the street connecting different reports. Nothing is proven in court yet against Diddy in relation to Epstein, but the overlap folks are talking about is what's making this convo wild. According to documentation that's been referenced in investigations around Epstein's operation, several elite party circles allegedly shared the same male and female escort networks that move between high-profile events, private gatherings, and luxury island properties. And that's the first place where people start drawing a line between Epstein's world and Diddy's world. For years, rumors followed Epstein about the private island gatherings, but for just as long, whispers also followed Diddy about ultra-exclusive parties where phones were confiscated at the door and nothing from inside those rooms was supposed to leave, with Diddy hiring male and female escorts just like Epstein.
Yeah, so I didn't get the instructions from him, but it was instructions from her, like specifically. Every time I nutted, I had to nut in or around the outside of her box. Like, so on her clit, on the lips, everything, and to that degree on the outside of her vagina. And that was clockwork. It had to be done like that every single time. And actually, it was kind of mandatory. Like the session could not be over unless I nutted, and I had to nut on the outside of her vagina. Like,
you couldn't leave until that happened?
Yeah, that was like mandatory. It was like
so
that gotta happen for the session to be over.
You know what the worst experience, the realization, it wasn't even the worst experience. I want to say the eye-opening experience. That's a better thing to say, is when I walked into the room and he was in front of her with his penis in her face. I was heartbroken, yo. Because that's when the realization that she had other men doing the same thing I was doing to her and she was doing to other men, that's when it hit me right there when I saw him.
And then came the claims from Allie Carter. If you've been paying attention to the Diddy scandal, you've probably heard her name by now. Allie Carter has been one of the loudest voices speaking about what she says happened to her when she was younger. According to her own statements in interviews and live streams, her trauma didn't begin in adulthood. She says it started when she was still a child moving through the foster system. According to Carter, certain placements that were supposed to protect children allegedly became pipelines where kids were exposed to powerful adults in environments they should never have been anywhere near.
Trafficking over the border was for who? Child Protective Services is your supplier. Is anybody gonna talk about that? The immigrants that are coming across the border, that all those kids that they were just scooping up out of boats and out of the water, they're now coming in and they're throwing them right into the system. Aurora, Colorado, Springfield, Ohio. Where do you think all those kids are going?
She describes situations where young people like herself were moved between locations like party favors, taken from one environment to another, while wealthy adults treated the entire situation like entertainment.
I was a party favor.
What does that mean?
I was a party favor. I was somebody you could take off the table.
So you're telling me they set children
I set on a table.
Like when you go to a birthday party and they have gift bags for everybody that comes that have candy and toys in them,
Yep.
and they set them on the table. So you're telling me at the freak off parties, they put on the table instead of gift bags, and then people can do what?
Take you off the table.
Now, whether every detail of Carter's story is accurate is something investigators and the courts would have to determine. But what made people take notice is the way she describes these environments, because she claims some of those spaces were tied to the same island circles connected to high-profile figures in the entertainment world. And here's where the conversation gets even heavier. Carter has publicly said she believes Diddy and Epstein moved within overlapping social circles. According to documented receipts, properties connected to their networks were located in the same island region.
But again, see, he's in cahoots with Epstein. And then
was he in cahoots with Epstein, or was it just a similar type of an operation?
No, they were friends.
Really?
Yeah, because Epstein had on Miami as well, that really private, rich estate in Miami. So
now again, that doesn't automatically mean the same crimes were happening in both places. But when people hear stories about the same islands, private jets, and elite guest lists, the questions become impossible to ignore. Because if two powerful figures are operating parties in the same isolated environments with the same kinds of guests, people are going to start wondering what really went down in those rooms. And that's why some online conversations are now asking a disturbing question. If Epstein had Diddy act in the same capacity as Ghislaine Maxwell, helping facilitate his network, recruiting, organizing, and moving folks not of legal age into disturbing spaces, that's where the word handler started circulating online after the DOJ document dropped. But just when people thought the conversation couldn't get bigger, two more names popped up in the files: Jay-Z and Pusha T. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, it's important to understand where those names actually appeared. According to reports tied to the DOJ release, their names showed up inside archived NTOC tip logs, meaning individuals had contacted the FBI with information they believed was relevant to Epstein's network. These are not court rulings. They are unverified tips submitted to investigators and stored in official records. Legally speaking, that doesn't mean those claims are proven, but the fact that these names appeared inside federal tip archives was enough to send the internet into overdrive. One report allegedly described Jay-Z being present in a private environment tied to Epstein during the mid-1990s, where a young individual claims she was abducted, drugged, and SA'd. Another tip suggested Pusha T may have been involved in facilitating introductions within elite party spaces. Again, these are allegations contained in tips, not confirmed findings. But the moment those names appeared in documents tied to Epstein's investigation, the internet started connecting dots that people hadn't taken seriously before. And that's when Kanye West's old warnings came rushing back into the conversation. For years, Kanye has been calling out what he describes as power structures inside the music industry. He talked about gatekeepers, handlers, people who control who rises and who disappears. When he first started saying those things, most of the industry dismissed him as ranting. They called him unstable, said he was chasing attention, said he had lost touch with reality.
People like Jay-Z and Pusha T, they made their living killing our people. So how the they gonna stand up for our people? You know what I'm saying? But we forget that because we love Jay-Z's music so much. We love Pusha's music so much, right? But you think they would ever, Beyonce had the best for somebody else? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You think they would ever tell the truth? No, if they told the truth, I didn't go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So you have liars. Liars are now the face of our culture.
But now, with new documents dropping and more names floating through investigations, the street is looking back at Kanye's warnings differently, because he specifically mentioned figures like Jay-Z and people within that same industry circle.
Thought the downfall of Diddy was something. The downfall of Jay-Z is going to be something. Jay-Z is working overtime right now to make sure his empire won't crumble apart. Because we're not going to act like he wasn't named in the Epstein files. Hello? As soon as he was naming the Epstein files, they gonna take all the posts down and everything. He probably seen it and made some calls. Was like, nah, get that removed right now. Sending mad bread out, sending mad money out. Like, whatever is done in the dark will come to the light.
And whether someone believes Kanye or not, the timing has made people curious, because suddenly the conversations he was having years ago about elite control and hidden networks don't sound as random as they did before.
The one person we call crazy, we call a lunatic, we call bipolar, we say he belongs in a mental health institute, somehow that person is the only person we don't see in these Epstein files. We don't see with nasty allegations towards his name. Now, Jay-Z to me, and here's why I think it's cooked, okay? Even though the allegations are unsubstantiated, because these are just, tips coming through a hotline, fortunately for Jay, the world already wants to believe these allegations. So there's nothing Jay can do to really convince people that he's not guilty. So when your name is wrapped up in these files, kiss your public reputation goodbye, man.
Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, is not implicated in any of these files. Ye is the one who's canceled. Ye is the one the media is calling evil. Ye is the one who they are demanding an apology from. Are they demanding an apology from Jay-Z? Jay-Z is now allegedly implicated in these files published by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The FBI has now listed Jay-Z here next to Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein. Why is there not the same demand for Jay-Z to apologize?
But here's the part of the story that makes everything even more complicated. The DOJ has been extremely careful about how these Epstein documents were released. By dumping large archives of unverified tips and investigative logs, they technically fulfill public transparency demands. They can say, we released what was submitted to investigators. But that also creates a strange situation, because when you release thousands of unverified claims at once, the public ends up debating the celebrity names instead of focusing on the bigger structure behind the crimes. And while people argue online about whether Jay-Z, Diddy, or anyone else was truly connected, the deeper architects of Epstein's network remain hidden behind heavy redactions. It's almost like the system releases just enough information to keep the public busy while protecting the bigger picture. And that leads to one uncomfortable possibility. What if some of the famous names appearing in these files are actually a scratch of the main deal? If Epstein's operation truly stretched across politics, business, and entertainment, who else hasn't been named yet? Do you think these connections are just internet speculation getting out of control, or do you believe the Epstein investigation might still be hiding something much deeper inside the entertainment industry? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're riding with unfiltered heat, don't just scroll, lock in, tap like, subscribe, and keep it rolling with the next jaw dropper loading up now.